All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of Saber Sims DFS office hours. It is Tuesday, August 8th of 2023 here. Looking ahead, we have an 11-game MLB main slate tonight. We also have PGA teeing off early Thursday morning. Should be a fun, nice, big 11-game main slate. Always a good time here. But for those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Andrew. I'm one of the coaches over here at SaberSim. It's a show where we go over how to use the SaberSim app, answer any and all DFS-related questions. You can get your questions in one of three ways. First way is you can send us an email, support@sabersim.com. 2, you can post your questions live in the YouTube chat. And 3, you can post your questions in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you are not in our Discord, want to get access to that channel, there is a link in the description of this video. You also get access to all of our similar channels, see when lineups are released, see when players are scratched, see when updated sims run for that news, get access to our individual sport channels where users and other SaberSim members here are helping each other just get better at DFS each and every day, answering questions, giving and taking feedback. So can't say enough good things about the Discord. But with that said, going to get the app pulled up. We have 2 questions here. They should be fairly short. So if anybody has anything on their mind, something that they've been wanting to ask, now is a great time to get those in. But anyways, we are going to jump right in. First question here from Ryan. Ryan said, does SaberSim know how hard OwnersBox is going with NFL this year? So I do not. I'm really excited to see what their contest offerings are going to look like, especially for opening week here. But you know, it's going to be bigger than MLB. NFL will definitely be bigger than MLB. And I believe they did a 5K to first for opening day of MLB season here. So I have to imagine that that is sized up somewhat, but you know, if you guys aren't aware, DK released their contest for opening week of NFL. I haven't seen FanDuel's contest offering, haven't seen OwnersBox's contest offering. Not sure if Yahoo has anything out yet either, but keep your eyes open. And, you know, I will do our OwnersBox pitch at the end of the show, as always here. But if you guys aren't playing over on OwnersBox and, you know, you see that they have good contests for the NFL season, make sure to use promo code SABER or SaberSim when you sign up. The link to our sign up promo page is in the description of this video. All right, jumping over to the YouTube chat. This is our last question here. I see people are trickling in. Just had 2 questions here to get us started. So as people trickle in, hopefully more questions will trickle in as well. But Mike said, on OwnersBox, would you recommend setting a stack number, example, at least 5, or just up the uniques? Okay, so really good question here. So for those of you guys not so familiar with OwnersBox here, if I go to their 11-game main slate, so their rules are a little bit different here, right? You can stack up to 7 batters and 1 hitter from the same team here. I'm almost positive that's the rule. I don't think you can do just 8 straight batters here. But anyway, you know, this is more, you know, FanDuel has a no more than 4 from one team. DraftKings has a no more than 4 batters. DraftKings has no more than 5 batters here. I'm almost positive OwnersBox is 7 batters from one team. I don't think it's 8. It very well could be 8 here. We would have to run a build and see here, but it really gets so interesting, right? Because the idea that in baseball correlation is so important, right? Correlation matters a lot. You get that stacking component of putting all these correlations on top of each other. When one batter in a lineup gets a hit or gets on base, that's 1/9 of an extra at bat for everybody else on the team. And then when you get 9 guys on, well, then now everybody on the team has an extra at bat, right? So the more players get on base, you know, the more at bats everybody gets, the more opportunities these guys get, etc. Right? So if you think about it, you know, from I guess like from a game theory perspective, I haven't, you know, solved this or anything, right? But you would have to imagine that there is a point of equilibrium where maybe too many players from one team is too many, right? Think about it like a sport like basketball, or maybe that's not like the best example. Maybe a sport like football, a little bit higher correlation between quarterback and the pass catchers, right? You know, QB plus 2 has been, you know, kind of, I'll say adopted or accepted as a very good stack with the right amount of players. But is a QB plus 6 a good stack? Right, you're still stacking, but now you are stretching that further. You're putting so many components in that lineup. Maybe it's not a good stack at that point. Maybe there aren't enough points to go around on average, or enough targets or opportunities, right? But in baseball, as if people keep getting hits, then people are still going to keep getting at bats, right? So where is that equilibrium point for baseball? And I don't think anybody's really had to kind of dive in and try and figure that out. Like, hey, is 7 too much? Is 8 too much? Because OwnersBox is a new upcoming site. They're the first site to allow this many batters from the same team. So definitely still in its infancy, like in a strategic sense, kind of from that perspective here. But the way to figure that out, right? The way to try and get some information to guide you to the right answer is what I always talk about here, is running a build and seeing what SaberSim gives you on a entire pool basis, looking at different snippets of your set here and valuing Saber score, right? So if we're looking at, we build 500 lineups, we're looking at all 500. That's great. That gives us this big, zoomed out view of what's going on in your pool. But for instance, let's say that we are getting, let's go to our stack types here. I'm just trying to build. So we have 7 lineups that are I'm sorry, we don't have 7 lineups. We have 11% of lineups in our pool that are a 7 stack here. So that's great, right? We're seeing that about, 10-ish% of our lineups are a 7 stack. But what if we looked at these lineups and all of them were in the bottom tier of our pool? It's like, okay, they're coming up, but when we go and grade them based on Saber score, they're not grading very high, right? So I think that's important as well. So that is why I am somebody, I like to come in here and look at, let's look at the top 50% of our pool and see what the most popular stacks are. And then our most popular stack is a 6 stack here. And then let's look at the top 25%, right? Cut that in half. Still a 6 stack is the most popular, with 3 other stacks coming in before 7. And then, we can look at the top 10%, right? The top 50 lineups. Okay, now 7 is starting to creep up. 6 is pulling away from the pack a little bit. So we really like 6 stacks. 7 is holding its own, kind of close to the pool percentage here. And then we could even go further and look at, the top 2% of our lineups here. This might be a little bit too small of a sample size here to just draw any major conclusions from, but just interesting to see, right? 6 stack is still taking home the trophy here with 50% in the top 2%. And then it was leading the way all across the top 50% of our lineups here. So what I could draw from this is like, hey, 6 stack is the most popular pool stack. It's also the best stack graded on Saber score for different buckets of Saber score, looking at our pool and chopping it up different ways, right? So that's one way to look at it. I do want to look at this 8 stack. So 8 stacks here, we only have 4 lineups in our entire pool here, right? So 6 stack, we really like at 25%. 7 stack, we like a little bit less at 11% in our pool. And then in 8 stack, we only have 1% of lineups with an 8 stack here. So maybe that 8 stack is the builder's way of saying, hey, this is probably a little too far here. So looking at this, 1, 2, 3, 4 infielders, 3 outfielders, and then Sean Murphy in the Superflex. So this is actually using 8 batters from the lineup. So just to clarify on what I was talking about earlier, because I wasn't 100% sure, on OwnersBox you can stack 8 batters from one team, but based on this build and the things that we're looking at here, might not be the best idea. Maybe 7 is a better stopping point here, right? So these are ways that you can ask these questions and get answers for these questions from the app itself. You just have to know where to look. You have to know how to digest the information. And, I've talked in the past about, SaberSim alone, it's a great tool, but you can make it better, right? So the idea of, man versus machine or man plus machine, right? So, you have your hand builders building lineups on their phone. with their, quote unquote sports knowledge. You have the optimizer pros just logging in and running the optimizer and letting it do its thing, right? Not being too opinionated. And then you have people who are finding ways to use the optimizer to add value, to answer questions, to help them get better, right? To find the type of lineups that they want to play. So a man plus machine approach is always going to be better than one or the other here. All right. On this topic, Ryan said, you will get a lot of 6 stacks without mini uniques, but after I usually do 4 to 5 uniques, then I get the 4 and 5 man stacks. So we can check this out, right? So let's look at our top 20 lineups here in our pool. And then let's see how these stack types change as we start to increase the mini uniques, right? So let's go to, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players in this lineup. So I'm going to start with 4 here and see where we go. So a lot of 4-3s start to come up here. One of the interesting things here that I'm thinking about is that if you go from mini uniques of 3, 6 stacks is still the highest. And then if you go to mini uniques of 4, then 6 stacks drop, and some of these other stacks, 4-3s and 5s kind of jump up. I think this is probably because, there are 9 batters in a lineup. So if you have mini uniques of 3, then in theory, you could use 6 players from one lineup, right? You could use 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That would be 6 batters here, right? But then when mini uniques goes above that threshold here to 4, now you can only use 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the same like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so I think there's going to be less combinations of 6 stacks available to you just solely based on mini uniques. And that's not to say that that's a bad thing here, but if you are looking at this kind of the way we just looked at it, we're saying, hey, 6 stacks are pretty good on this slate. They're showing up a lot. Maybe you want to cap your mini uniques, right? Maybe you want to say, hey, I don't want to limit the number of 6 stack combos that I have in my effective working pool here. So I'm actually going to lower my number of mini uniques for this slate and be okay playing more 6 stacks, even if some of those are the same, right? And I think that this idea probably works better on something like when you're building more lineups, I would say. So when you're building, 150 or something like that, really keep this in mind. But I think only building 20, you could probably go either way. Even, 20% of 6 stacks in 20 lineups is more than enough here. I don't have a problem with that, especially staying close to the pool percentage here. But just remember that, think about the number of players in a lineup, and then think about your mini uniques, and then think about how those two numbers interact sometimes, right? So just some food for thought for you guys. But really good question there. See people continuing to trickle in. Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Those were our 2 questions of the day so far here. So if anybody has any questions and anything that they want to chat about, just let me know. One thing on this topic here that I didn't cover is that on OwnersBox specifically, right? We don't have ownership projections at the moment. And this is really because the field is fairly irrational, right? So the way our ownership model works is we are running builds at high sim diversity and taking the exposures from those builds and then using those as the ownership projections. And basically what we're trying to say is like, hey, this player should in theory be played at this rate, right? These are the exposures that they're coming up at. We are assuming that the field is rational and these are like the exposures that we're getting from those builds, right? Well, since SaberSim was the first major optimizer to support OwnersBox at the beginning of the MLB season, we understood that a lot of the user base was not using optimizers, right? I believe at the beginning of the year, Fantasy Cruncher as well wasn't even supporting OwnersBox slates, right? I know they've added some support for that, but I haven't seen a lot of other industry players pushing their user base to play on OwnersBox yet. And so I think that the field is still very irrational. I've seen slates where you might see Atlanta, most players in Atlanta owned between like 5 to 10%, and then Matt Olson is out in left field owned at 40% randomly as like a one-off, right? So you see some really weird stuff with batters in particular on OwnersBox, and it just makes modeling ownership very, very challenging, I think, with with almost like the lack of people using optimizers, right? So we have all these users that are very irrational, that are kind of hard to model, right? So something that I have learned here, and I'm speaking all this like from my experience playing, right? Just things that I've seen with ownership and stuff. But on OwnersBox, right, we have this super flex spot. So I've talked about this in the past. Just want to, remind you guys in case anybody missed it. So they have this super flex spot. This is almost always going to be a pitcher. If you guys go to your super flex, it's almost always going to be a pitcher. And this is strictly because they just project so much better than any batter here, right? So if we go to all, and then we sort by projections descending here, you guys can look at this. Our first 15 to 20 highest projected players are all pitchers. So our highest projected position player is Ronald Acuna Jr. at 11.34. Almost the worst pitcher on the slate is projected for just that much, right? Alex Wood is our lowest projected pitcher on the slate, and he is projected for 10.92. And then there are all these other pitchers above him on an 11-game slate. So that means that 21 pitchers are all projected above our highest projected batter here. So you're just going to get pitchers in the superflex spot so often here. What you can do here, something that I've done, is I will use the pitcher ownership projections from DraftKings and upload them as custom ownership to OwnersBox. I've seen, in from playing myself anecdotally here, that they usually match up pretty decently. And that's because DraftKings has 2 pitcher spots. A lot of people play pitchers in the Superflex, and it just kind of works out, right? So it's not perfect. It's not, it's not specifically OwnersBox ownership here, but it is ownership projections, and they are usually fairly close here. So uploading DraftKings pitcher ownership into OwnersBox is, I think, a viable strategy here, and it just gives some pieces of the puzzle to the builder here, right? So I like to think of ownership as a puzzle, and what we are doing is we are putting in some of the pieces, right? Imagine just putting in the edge pieces of this ownership, leaving the middle kind of undone here, but we are giving the builder some semblance of ownership here. All right. Gonna keep it rolling. Samuel B said, DFS is definitely hard. I'm behind the field by so much. I follow the profit plan, but only playing in the dime and quarter contest on the main slate. I'm following the process Jordan explained in the MLB video, but still so behind. Not sure if I need to change anything or just keep riding it out. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you here. Like, DFS is hard. The best thing that you can do is, practice good contest selection, right? So the best place for you to spend your money is contests under $3, right? These are the contests that the most winningest players cannot even see in the lobby, right? So the DraftKings, I think it's like fair play guidelines here, are that players with $1 million or more in lifetime earnings cannot play contests under $3, right? So your 50 cent, your $1, your $2, your $2.99s, right? And then also they cannot play contests under $5 that have a prize pool of less than $25,000. So if you are playing a $4, this example comes up a lot in NBA season. So they usually have a $4.20 max, but the prize pool is usually bigger than 25,000. It's usually like 80K or something like that. So all players in the lobby have access to that. However, as slate gets closer, they will sometimes, hey, this contest is going to fill. They will open up a second version of that contest where the number of entrants is actually smaller, and then the prize pool ends up being under 25K. So a lot of times I will tell people, hey, wait for that first contest to fill up, see if they open up a second one, and then play the second one. And then now all of the sharks who filled up that first one cannot play the second one, and then you get a little bit softer competition here. So in poker, the term is called bum hunting. It's what people call like looking for games with soft players that you could take advantage of. That's kind of what we're talking about here is playing these contests that the giant squids of the world, the Max Steinbergs of the world, the shady advices, the crafty lefties, right? All these guys, in and around our community that are really good. They cannot play those contests. They cannot see those. So stay away from those. There's plenty of profit to go around in some of these smaller contests, and contest selection is so important in DFS in 2023. Ryan said, MLB props are my favorite, but when NBA gets back, that's when SaberSim props really crush. Brooks are very poor at pricing NBA props. That's a great time to start the prop plan compound daily as well. 25-cent OwnersBox contest, always overlaying easy money. Yeah, no, I mean, I think the overlay on OwnersBox, it's not going to last forever, but it is important here to take advantage of it while you can, right? I think when football comes around, when NBA comes around, when the fall is really like the prime time DFS time here. You have late season MLB, you have early season NFL, early season NBA. People are excited. That is like one of the best times to be playing DFS. And I think that if the price pools on OwnersBox grow, other players will gravitate toward that site because there's just money to be made, right? So take advantage of the overlay while you can. I don't know how much longer it lasts, right? Looks like Mike and Ryan going a little bit back and forth here. Ryan, really quick on the props. So I did want to let you guys know we released this like about a month ago or a couple of weeks ago here, but we actually discontinued our prop plans here. We're not going to have props for MLB or NBA here. This is really due to the fact that we just really wanted to focus on our DFS product here. We have so many great things coming out in the beta and other things that we are continuing to build, and we just really didn't want to take time away from those projects. We think that those projects are going to have a much bigger impact on our subscribers here and their profitability here. So for the time being, no props while we focus on our DFS product, but just wanted to let you know in case you were waiting for that to come around since you mentioned it. But all right, everybody, we're all caught up with questions at the moment here. So while we wait for any last questions to roll in, just wanted to remind you guys, as always, since we talked about it a lot today, if you guys are not playing over on OwnersBox, would highly recommend taking advantage of our promotion. We partnered with OwnersBox at the beginning of the DFS season here. Like we talked about, they're an up-and-coming DFS site here. Contests are overlaying frequently at the moment, so take advantage of it while you can. When you use promo code SABER or SaberSim when you sign up, you can get up to a $500 deposit bonus, and 2, you can earn free months of SaberSim just by playing on the site and nothing else. So each time you hit one of our entry fee tiers here, we will reach out to you, let you know you have earned a free month of SaberSim. You can cash in on that right away, or you could wait till the next tier and then cash in on it then. Whenever you cash in on that free month, we will reset your tracking to 0 and you will start earning towards your next free month right away. There is no limit on the amount of free months you can earn while this promotion lasts here. All right. Question from Samuel. Samuel said, so it's just searching for soft competition at that rate. How do I get to the level of the people you mentioned? So that is, the first thing you can do, right? This is, how you grow a bankroll. That I've talked with Shady Advice extensively here. And one thing that Shady said was, hey, when I look at my ROI in competitions, before I was, excluded from those smaller dollar contests, I had, say a 30% ROI. And then when I look at what my ROI is since then, it's half or something like that. Right. Or he was talking about it in the public channel, saying something like my ROI in the under $3 was much higher than my ROI, in the above $3. Right. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. So there's not to say that you can't win at the next level, but you could probably win at a higher rate at those contests that are lower. And if you are a profitable player long-term and you grind out DFS and you get better, you're going to lose access to those contests. So the best thing that you could do is take advantage of them while you can. And I think that's kind of what we're trying to get at here is let everybody know, hey, take advantage of these while you have access to them, because if you stick around, there's going to come a day where you do not see these contests anymore. And now you're going to be forced to play with the big boys, regardless of where you are. So use those contests to grow your bankroll, to get better, to, just get some experience in playing. And, I think that over time, situations arise, over and over again, and you kind of understand different ways to handle them and the best way for you to handle them. So just getting that experience at those low dollar, growing your bankroll, and then being ready when the time comes to ultimately graduate is one of the best things that you can do here. So contest selection, super important for growing a bankroll. All right, everybody. Well, I think we are all set for today here. Appreciate everybody tuning in. If you guys are building lineups throughout the day, question pops in your head, drop it in the Office Hours channel, drop it in the chat of the upcoming streams. Those are on our YouTube channel. If you drop a question in the chat, it'll stay there until the show. So I always appreciate questions ahead of time. Helps us get a steady queue of questions as people continue to trickle in, as people, start conversing in the chat and get those DFS questions flowing here. But until tomorrow, Samuel B said, what is the threshold before you stop seeing them? So it's $1 million in lifetime earnings on DraftKings. And I believe on FanDuel, if you are net positive 50K, you will lose access to their under $3 contests as well. OwnersBox does not have that guideline at the moment. But anyways, guys, until tomorrow, take care. Good luck in your contests. I will see you all. Thanks. Bye.